battle week in and week out, and the guy that's walked away with the victory in the war and with 7 battle victories, as Boris said. Boris, you won the championship last weekend, but this is the last race of the season. It's for bragging rights. You're going for it, I'll bet.
Oh yeah, we're going for it. I mean, everyone on Applied Computer Solutions is, they don't care if I bring it back in a basket. So we switched cars to the Ford Mustang. We're going to try to get Ford's 100th win in Trans Am, and it's all or nothing this weekend. It should be fun.
Well, it should be fun. It should be a great race to watch. And Boris said certainly knows nothing other than going for the win. He's won 7 times. Look for him to try to make it again 8. But another guy, woulda, shoulda, coulda. Butch, you could have won the championship had it not been some bad luck on your part. You did walk away with Rookie of the Year honors, but I know you want to win this one. You want to go out a winner.
Well, yeah, Tom Gloy Racing is shutting the doors, and it'd be nice to be able to send them off with a win and give Tommy Bahama a win before the year's out. Boris and his team did a great job all year. I don't want to take anything away from their championship, but we could have done better if I didn't make some mistakes. But we'll just have to make up for it today.
Well, he certainly is capable of doing it. He's won already this year. Look for him to go for it. But maybe the real gladiator in all this championship has been Paul Gentilozzi. For the last 5 years, he's never finished out of the top 3 in championship points. But he had a testing crash on Thursday, cracked a rib, aggravated it, and actually broke it and separated it in qualifying. He's going to be in a lot of pain. As a matter of fact, he's not even out at his car yet. They're putting a special brace on him so that he can run this weekend. It's going to be a painful deal. We'll see how long he can stay in the car. These aren't the only guys that have fought hard all year long. Chris Neville, my partner in speed, he's standing by with some of the other gladiators.
In 2001, Justin Bell came into the Trans Am Series, capturing Rookie of the Year and the final 2 victories of the season. Justin, you finished 2nd in Miami. What do you have today?
Well, I hope a win. We were fast in last practice yesterday. We're starting 6th on the grid, but I came 2nd at Miami, finishing, starting 13th. So great group of guys. Last race of the year. Let's try and make it a win.
Now our pole sitter, Stu Hainer, has shown speed all season. Stu, you've had a couple podium finishes. Every time you've gotten close to that victory, though, you've had a lot of bad luck. Can you break through that today?
I think so. The Revolution team and the Trenton Forging guys have given us such a great car all year. We just had a couple little pieces break, and I think this weekend we're ready to go and we're going to win this one.
Now, Virginia has seen its share of impressive battles in the past. I think we're going to see another one here today.
Well, certainly all the elements are in place, Bill Adam, but it's been a wild weekend for a couple of contenders. What happened to Johnny Miller?
There has been a lot of learning going on. Johnny Miller is one of 3 drivers with a bit of experience, but it just didn't help. Bob Ruman here, you see him losing a tire, exploding up through the bodywork, but he kept the car under good control. And finally, here's Jerry Simmons getting way too hot in. Mud, grass, water, nothing could stop him. He slammed the tire wall, but they have fixed the car. He will rejoin the grid.
We'll be back in a moment for the start of the VIR Speed Fest. It's the season finale for the Trans Am Series here on Speed. We'll be back. Our Speed Channel coverage of the Trans Am season finale is being brought to you today by AmeriSuites, the preferred hotel of the Trans Am Series. Welcome back to Virginia International Raceway, about set to fire the field up and get ready for the season finale for the Trans Am Tour, 12th race of the year. A reminder, coming up tonight, our NASCAR edition of Speed News, 7 o'clock Eastern Time. We'll have all the coverage from this weekend's activities in Atlanta, all the off-track news, and a whole lot more, followed by Speed News Sunday at 7:30 Eastern tonight from our Charlotte studios. We'll recap all the action here at VIR. The kart Champ Car Series down under at Surfers Paradise, a wild one overnight. Bill Adam, take us for a ride around this nearly 3 1/3 mile racetrack.
It is a spectacular track. I'm just disappointed I've never been here before because it is beautiful with all of these corners, 17 turns, and lots of spots for passing. And there is great at the end of both of these straights. I'm through here at particularly turn 14. Now that 14 is at the end of the longest, fastest straight on this track. The Trans Am cars will be 175 miles an hour right down here. At the end, they go down through this little valley, even increasing their speed more, and then suddenly right there, a great spot for late brake maneuvers. So you're capable of making good, safe passes. The track is wide, very smooth.
Here's your starting lineup for today's event on the pole. Stu Hainer in his Revolution Motorsports Chevrolet, the 02 car, lap of 107.6 miles an hour. Series champ Boris Said has a Mustang from Mike Davis' stable on the outside of row 1. Butch Leitzinger, the new Rookie of the Year in the Tom Gloy Tommy Bahama Chevrolet. Tony Abe out of Indianapolis in car number 53. That's Kerry Alexander's car. Justin Bell is back in Jim Durhag's number 40. He'll start 5th. Paul Menard, the rookie, back in one of the Mike Davis cars. That's the Menard's 99. Fourth row, Randy Ruhlman from nearby Greensboro, North Carolina. In the other Gloy Chevy, Tommy Dreese in one of the Rocket Sports Jaguars. Fifth row, John Bauckham from North Carolina in the 86. That's a Jag. And Mike Lewis in the Amerisweets Jaguar, car number 12. Row number 6, Don Sack from Detroit, the other Revolution Motorsports Chevrolet. And Mad Max Lagat is back on the Hypermax 83. That's a Camaro. Bob Ruhlman, who had a big moment off here the other day with a tire going away in his Sedwell Chevrolet. Paul Fix from Buffalo. Simon Gregg from Jacksonville in the other Durham car. John Levy in the 18. He's from the Miami area in Florida. The 9th row looks like this. Jerry Simmons. We saw him a moment ago in the Westwood, the Crank Ford. That's the 76. Johnny Miller had to go to the back because of a tire change in the 64. Team owner Mike Davis. He's driving the Panos that Boris said has won 7 races in. And Dan Fury in his Chevrolet Corvette. That's car number 30. The 11th row, Paul Gentilozzi, who did not take a time in the 3 car. He'll start from the back. And John Schaller, rookie contender in car number 31. That's a yellow Chevrolet. And we'll have 22 cars taking the green. A couple of onboard looks this afternoon as well. Johnny Miller will take us from a ride. He'll come from deep in the field today. This ought to be great, Bill, from 18th spot.
This sure will. You're going to see a lot of shifting going up here because Johnny, as you noticed from his time, he was very, very quick, but his little off-track excursion, they changed tires for safety, and because of that, he now has to be at the back.
Paul Menard will have an onboard look for us as well, and the Menard's Conseco Ford will start in the 3rd row on the outside along with Justin Bell. So he lines up at the 6th spot. Rookie Paul Menard with a lot of different kinds of experience. He's run the NASCAR Remax Series. He's raced go-karts. He'll do some ice racing this winter. Wants to make a name for himself today in Trans Am. We'll be back for the start from VIR. 1966 was the inaugural year for what was then the SCCA's Trans-American Sedan Championship. The tour made its 4th stop of the season here at VIR. 36 entries, including cars for NASCAR drivers Richard Petty and Wendell Scott, David Pearson and Curtis Turner, all taking the green. Petty ran as high as 2nd, but eventually ended up off the racetrack. The number 14 Barracuda had to retire. In the end, it was the 34 car, the Mustang of Tom Yeager and Bob Johnson, outlasting the field, winning the 400-mile run. They only ran one other race in the Mustang, but the team won the first Trans Am manufacturer's title for Ford. A historical place, certainly, and some history may be made here today, Brian Till.
Well, you talk about the history around this racetrack, and I'm fortunate enough to be standing here with Tom Yeager, who won the very first ever Trans Am race at this racetrack 36 years ago. Tom, but in 36 years, have you ever gotten it out of your blood?
Oh, heavens, no. In fact, I'm still vintage racing now, and it just, you can't get it out of your blood. Once you do it, you've got to do it.
And this track, I mean, the history surrounds it. Has it changed at all since you ran here?
No, the track hasn't changed at all. I think they did a little bit of filling in the back straightaway, but it's exactly the same as it was in 1966.
Well, I know Tom's excited to be here. We were talking about how much the cars have changed. He loves this racetrack. He loves racing. And I think if they incorporated this area, they'd make him mayor. He's a very popular guy here. And don't forget, he won the very first ever Trans Am race for Ford in a Mustang also.
And Mustang comes in with 99 wins in its storied history in the series. Bill Adams, part of the reason Boris said decided to climb into the Mustang and put the number 33 on it this weekend.
It's a very interesting story because by Boris getting into a Ford Mustang, that effectively takes away his chances of winning the manufacturer's title for Panos. It'll almost hand it to Chevrolet because they are in such good position at this point. So that's kind of curious.
Some great Chevrolet contenders. Of course, Butch Leitzinger has won 3 races for Corvette this season. He starts toward the front, but it's Stu Hainer in that 02 car who's had the heartbreak of 2 near misses alongside Boris. Hainer from the pole, and we are glad you're with us on Speed. We're underway from VIR.
Long front straight here down into turn 1 that gives a variety of options. Look at Leitzinger trying to get up the inside already. Pressing. Now here the track's wide enough. They should be able to go side by side all the way around here. But that'll give Boris a decided advantage going into the next corner because it's a much harder. Yeah, look at this now. Boris pulls ahead.
Boris said the 2nd spot after that door-to-door duel with Leitzinger. Hainer jumps to the early lead in the Trenton Forging 02 car out of Don Sack's Revolution Motorsports stable. Don is here in the 10. You'll see his other white Corvette a little later on. Tony Ave in the 53 up into 4th spot.
Justin Bell right behind that, and I believe that's Tommy Dreese's Jaguar there, along with
Paul Menard, the next in line.
Yeah, one of our in-car camera cars there in the Mustang.
Now this is heading up through the S's toward that beautiful corner where there's the big elm tree that leans out over the racetrack, where Johnny Miller had his problem yesterday. Boris said meantime in the 33 car, with Butch Leitzinger nipping at his heels for 2nd spot.
Something that may help Boris right now is that less than an hour ago he competed in one of the Speed Vision races driving a Mustang. Now granted, it's a long way removed from this Mustang, but at least it gives him track time. He knows the track condition. He knows little ins and outs and where he can and can't make passes. So I think those little things will help him.
Tony Ave and Kerry Lawrence's tri-lifted car, the 53, headed up the back straightaway.
Tony I spoke to before the race, and he was a little bit despondent, and they said they lost their good engine early on in practice.
Yeah.
This engine, they admit, is quite a bit down on horsepower and thinks that that'll hurt him over the course of the race. If it was a short track like a Lime Rock, maybe they can get away with it. But here, because of these long straights where they're on the throttle so much, yeah, you can see Justin actually closing up there a little bit, that number 40 Corvette. Justin sponsoring this race as well.
What a great run he had in Miami a few weeks back when he came home second from 13th starting spot.
Really, really good job. Jim Derhaag also is one of the guys that I believe so strongly in because he seems to understand how to make changes as the race goes on. And he can talk back and forth with Justin and make little suggestions to him. But they've always set up a car that initially may not be one of the fastest cars, but it seems as the race goes on, they take care of their tires and they're able to run a much harder pace through the mid parts of the race. Pace cars, yellow flags will hurt Jim Derhaag and Justin, but if it's a green race, watch for Justin to make a real charge.
Tommy Dreesy is next in line in the black number 5. Your speed strip from Amerisweets up top with your running order, working lap 2. There's Justin Bell trying to close in on Ave and that red, white, and blue Paynos. Dreesy is right behind him. Here they come under the Virginia Bridge that gets you to the paddock area here at VIR. Mike Lewis in the Amerisweets jag a little further back with John Bauckham in the Bully Dog 86. Bauckham pretty much a local. He races out of the Charlotte area in that car. Hasn't run the full season, but he's been very quick in that car.
Yeah, one of the things too that I think inspires him is because he is local.
Yeah.
You get more friends and family here, so you try a little bit harder.
Under that beautiful tree at the far point, you might say, of the racetrack, turn 11 and 12. There's your leader, Hayner, in the Trenton Forging 02. Twice this season, we've seen Stu Hayner dominate one of these races at Lime Rock back Memorial Day weekend, then at Miami several weeks ago, only to have mechanical problems take him away from a chance to win.
I know, I meant to ask him before the start of the race if he had changed churches. Maybe he's praying at the wrong place. He has just gone through some unbelievably bad luck, particularly in Miami. That last lap break, it's one of those things that you would write into a Hollywood script and say, no, you're safely in the lead on the final lap and you should have it. And it didn't happen.
Season champion Boris said, running second in the purple Mustang. If we say Paynos at some point today, don't be surprised. You heard the story. We alluded to it a few minutes ago. Boris and his team owner, Mike Davis, deciding they would swap cars coming into this final race. The Paynos that Boris has had so much success in, well, Mike Davis has put the number 11 on that. He's driving it today. Boris climbed into Mike's Mustang. And, Bill, I was surprised because I would think you wouldn't want to give up a car that's won 7 races. You found out the cars aren't much different.
They really are identical in every respect. They say they can interchange virtually any part on the car. And the only difference between them is the roll cage structure holding the roof in effect, the greenhouse area. That's a little bit different from the Paynos to the Mustang. But other than that, the frame, the control arms, the entire suspension system is identical car to car. So Boris can jump from Paynos to Mustang and really not notice any difference in handling at all. It's the same car other than the shape of the body.
Heading up when I first got here, I thought, well, this has got to be the backstretch, but it's really comprised mostly of S turns coming up to turn 11 and 12.
And incredibly fast, too. I think it is so quick and requires such a strong flow up through here that passing is virtually impossible until you get under real hard braking right there or at the end of this straight. That's earlier when we showed you the 2 Corvettes going side by side. Down at the end of this straight, I think, is the best passing spot of all, but you're doing it at 175 miles an hour, so you take a big gulp of air before you do it.
Heading toward one of the great passing points. Hayner leading.
Oh, look at this.
Second.
Look at Boris.
Taking a look to the inside of Hayner. Now he's on the left-hand side of the road here. Stu chops down on it.
Wow. Well, Boris took that big gulp of air right there, and at the last minute decided he couldn't do it. Let's see, does that give Butch was able to close up a little bit, but I thought Boris really had a good run on him that time.
Leitzinger with 3 wins, second in the win column, second in the season standings, a little further back. Johnny Miller. Oh, and Hayner heads toward pit road surprisingly. Just 2 laps complete, and Hayner comes to pit road early. Chris Neville, there must be a problem with that car.
No problem with the car. However, he missed his pit spot. They decided they wanted to do a pit stop early in the race and then try and make up any time and caution pretty much just reset it. But these guys were all set up. They had the sign hanging. He drove right by. Big mistake by the leader of the race.
Huge problem for Hayner because he's given up all that track position. That hands the lead to Boris Said with Butch Leitzinger second. I'm surprised they would try to do that anyway under Greenville.
I am as well. This early in the race, I don't agree with that call at all, but what an amazing error.
So Boris Said is your leader, heading through the S's up the backside of the racetrack. Hayner comes back on the track behind the lead group of cars. We'll be back. Back on Speed Channel from Virginia International Raceway, coverage of the Trans Am Series. The VIR Speed Fest season finale. The BF Goodrich Tires Cup, the cup already in the hands of Boris Said. Join us tonight on Speed, 8 o'clock Eastern for NASCAR Victory Lane. John Roberts and the gang from our Charlotte studios. Wrap up all the weekend's activities at Atlanta Motor Speedway. It's the Cup Tour this afternoon, 500 miles at Atlanta. You're on board with Johnny Miller, the Automation Direct Cutler Hammer 864. Johnny flat-spotted tires in that incident yesterday. Bill had to start from the back. He's made great progress in a couple of laps. He's up to 8 as we watch the lead battle.
He has. I think he's done just a tremendous job so far. Really cut through the field as quickly as possible. And he is not that far out of the lead. We're only showing him 8 seconds back from the lead. So I think his run is nothing to. There he goes again. Like, look at this, flying down the straight.
Blowing
really
by
nice
Mike
run.
Lewis there in the 12th car.
Very, very good job. That Cutler Hammer car is moving today. Those tires aren't flat at all.
Take a look out the back end of Johnny Miller's Jaguar. Johnny's been frustrated. Has not been to victory lane this year. Talked to us yesterday at length and said, hey, you know, it'd be great to get a win. We may not have the car for it here today, but we're sure going to try. Knew he'd have his work cut out for him coming from the back, but he's made a great run. One of the Durhog cars looks like Simon Gregg on pit road at the 59 as we watch the 64 down the front straightaway. Little kink to the right and then the steep right-hand turn at turn 1.
Yeah, and I think that Johnny might have done something very, very smart earlier this summer, that he actually ran the SCCA Nationals up here. He drove a GT1 car just to get himself some track experience.
Let's get it to Chris Neville on pit road.
As Stu just came back in, they did a pretty good stop here, but these guys are all hanging their heads pretty low. I talked to Stu's crew chief, and he said Stu just didn't see him. These guys had the sign out and everything, but didn't see him, so these guys are just hoping for some cautions now.
Yeah, I think they have to pray for cautions right now, but basically, you know, that falls onto the shoulders of Stu. That's an error I would not have put down as even being possible from somebody as experienced as Stu. That you have to work in conjunction with your crew, but they've made enough pit stops here throughout the course of all practice and qualifying. Stu knew where his pit was, and I think just in the heat of the moment, he came into pit lane way too hot. Probably couldn't stop the car in time without locking up his tires, and he didn't want to do that in case of flat spotting.
Well, there is Paul Gentilozzi, the driver who is a member of the walking wounded here this weekend after an incident earlier in the week, cracked a couple of ribs. Paul staying in the car. We were told he might only run one lap till he would come in, score the points, lock up third in the Drivers' Championship, but he's decided to stay in the race car.
Oh, this is an Ironman performance right now. Every time Paul hits one of those curbs, you can bet that his rib cage is taken right. That jolts. I mean, imagine somebody holding a knife blade directly behind your rib cage, and every time you take a full breath of air or go over a bump, that thing is jabbing you in the ribs. That's what it feels like to have a broken rib. I've been there and broken that, so I know what it feels like.
As Gentilozzi makes it through turns 11 and 12 here, he holds several records in the Trans Am Series, 184 career starts. The best year ever in terms of money won, more than $415,000. How about 59 top threes in 184 starts? That's nearly 1 in 3. Top fives, nearly 1 in 2 starts. Top tens, nearly 2/3 of his starts have been in the top tens. He's qualified in the Fast Five nearly 2/3 of the time he's been to the racetrack as well. It's very, very impressive. And he moves up on Bob Rubin in the Sedwell Chevrolet. Paul actually making a pass on the racetrack. He'll gather up another spot. So we may be seeing one of the great drives of the year from one of the great veterans in the series. Brian Till.
Troy Calgill is a longtime crew chief for Paul Gentilozzi. Troy, not only is he staying out, he just passed somebody. Has he said anything on the radio?
No, he hadn't really said anything. He said on the pace lap, he said he felt pretty good. He's just going to see how far he can go. I think he wants to do it for Jaguar, Johnson Controls, and the team here. And if we all know who's tough out there, it's Paul Gentilozzi.
Well, we certainly do, but I tell you, I think the most nervous guy down here is Jack Willis. He's the guy that's been picked to replace Paul if he comes in. Jack standing here, doesn't want to wish bad on Paul, but he sure would like to drive that Jaguar.
Wouldn't we all?
Yeah, absolutely. At age 52, Paul Gentilozzi is our hero in a lot of ways, and he's certainly doing a great job here today. Boris said, inheriting the point after the misfortune, the mistake made by Stu Hainer when he ducked onto pit road early, missed his pit stall, had to come back a second time. He's trying to play the track position game. Boris said is the race leader. Butch Leitzinger is right behind Paul Gentilozzi, trying to make his way through the field. Welcome back on Speed Channel. Coverage of the Trans Am Series for the BF Goodrich Tires Cup live today from Virginia International Raceway. 12th and final race of the 2002 season. Alongside Bill Adam, I'm Rick Benjamin, Brian Till, Chris Neville on pit road. 7 laps of 31 are complete. Butch Leitzinger has stayed out in front. Boris said had just made his fuel stop right before we took the commercial break. Or Stu Hainer tried to make the stop very early, missed his pit stall, had to come in a second time, has given up a lot of track position. Let's take a look at the gas and go here from Boris said, driving the ACS Ford this weekend with the number 33 on it. This is the car that team owner Mike Davis ran all season long. Mike driving the Panos that Boris has won the championship with. That couldn't have been more than 7 or 8 seconds of fuel bill.
That was a picture-perfect stop. You saw them bring the car to the stop. The crew didn't look panicked at all. They were quick, but very methodical and very efficient with their stop. That's a great one.
Now Boris is back in 5th. Obviously here, this is a 100-mile race, Brian Till. These teams calculating there may not be much full course caution running here today, so they want to get to pit road as quickly as they can and not lose track position.
Well, that's absolutely right, Rick. You know, early in the season when Trans Am first went to these fuel stops, they said a lot of guys thought, well, we'll stay out as long as we possibly can, fuel in the end and wait for the yellow. But as the season is worn on, everybody has really gone to the pit as early as we can. That strategy here basically is we need about 7 gallons. We need to run for about 7 laps, burn off 7 gallons. Then we're going to come in, top this thing off, and go. And that's really the strategy that most of these teams have gone to later in the year. Fuel it as early as we can and go for the rest of the time.
You know, the other thing too, Brian, I'm really impressed that Boris is on a tire conservation strategy because he's going over the curb so much he's frequently two-wheeling, so he's not wearing out those inside tires.
Yeah, he's getting some air there.
Boy, is he ever looking spectacular. This is interesting. I mean, I wondered when Boris came into this, he's got the championship wrapped up, so how hard does he drive? You look at the NFL, an athlete like Randy Moss.
Yeah.
There's a guy who said, yes, sometimes I play hard. And I was curious to see how hard was Boris going to play today.
Leader is on pit road. Butch Leitzinger brings the Tommy Bahama 88 car to a stop. Tom Bloy's crew, you've heard us discuss a little bit today. We'll talk more about it. The Tom Bloy team closing its doors after this weekend. Chris Neville.
Yeah, these guys are just doing a routine stop down here. They say everything's great with the car. Butch says he's ready to go for it. So now they're just kind of looking for a reset down here. Maybe a caution will come out, bunch all the leaders up. We're going to have some good racing. Boris just went by, so Boris might beat him out.
Leitzinger quickly up through the gears. Long pit road here at VIR. You have a lot of ability, I think, to get up to speed before you get to turn 1.
Yeah, and also the varying lines through turn 1. I like very much, too, that we saw in earlier races today that you actually can hold 2 cars very easily side by side.
Interesting situation that's starting to develop here. 9 laps complete. Here's Gentilozzi in the 3. He is up to 15th spot in the Johnson Controls Jaguar. Did a great early run for Paul. He stayed on the course for about the first third of the race, and we'll see if Jack Willis is going to get in the car now. They've decided to bring the car to pit road for fuel, I'm sure. And here comes Gentilozzi, the 3-time series champion, who says he's going to step out of the driver's seat in 2003 and not run the full season in Trans Am. Planning to mount an American Le Mans Series GTS effort, we're told, for Jaguar. Also, an Indy Racing League team could well be in Paul's future. Brian Till, is Jack Willis going to jump in this race car?
Well, it certainly looks like it. Paul has brought the car in. They've brought it to a stop. Willis has his helmet on. Yep, they're taking the window net down, and Paul's going to get out. Now, this is what's going to be painful for him. He's got to bend and twist his body, and with those ribs, I can't even imagine the excruciating pain that he must be going through. He's not a small man anyway. He's over 6 feet tall. A lot of pain on his part. Gotten out of the car, Willis getting in. They're going to lose valuable track position on this, but they've got to take the time. Obviously, Paul could not get it done. You see, he is in excruciating pain as you see him over here.
Still smiling, though. One of his sons there with him. He's grinning. Or is he grimacing? One of the two. Paul Gentilozzi with a great effort here at VIR. Willis will take over the 3 car. We'll be back. Here at VIR this weekend, one of the great prizes that's been at stake for Trans Am competitors. All the pole winners had a chance to win a 2-year lease in a beautiful Jaguar coupe. the XJ8. Boris Said got the second set of keys, handed it to his crew chief, Neil Wheatley, who was able to open the car. Now, Bill, I don't know, does that mean that Neil gets to keep the car for the 2 years, or does Boris actually end up with it?
Either one, it's a winner.
It's part of the pageantry here at Virginia International Raceway. Wow. But with the cycle of fuel stops, this has handed the lead to the LAC Panos and Tony Ave, racing out of Wisconsin. This is an Indy-based team, the Trilithic 53 car, and Ave, an excellent man behind the wheel. Bill, this is one of the 2 fuel-injected cars in the series. We're more than a third of the way home. It'll be interesting to see what their fuel strategy is going to be.
One of the fuel-injected cars, and it's also one of the, quote, factory Panos chassis. Now, the Panos that Boris has run all year was a car that was actually designed and built by the ACS team. That was their own. It looks similar to this, but underneath the skin, it's a totally different car. So maybe today, because Tony said he's down on horsepower, well, if he has less horses to feed, maybe he's getting a lot better mileage.
We'll try to find out more about that. Meantime, let's get a few words from the 3-time series champion, Paul Gentilozzi, with Brian Till.
Well, I called Paul Gentilozzi in the Open a gladiator, and he certainly is in this Trans Am series. And what a Herculean effort today. I know you had to be in excruciating pain.
Well, the first few laps, it wasn't bad. I actually, kind of think the adrenaline thing takes over. And it wasn't being a passenger in the car. It was having to shift. The big muscles in my back that are around those 2 ribs that are broken are obviously now inflamed. So every time I made a shift, it was like somebody stabbing you with a knife.
Paul is the master of understatement. I can't imagine it felt more like stabbing with a knife, and I can tell you, it had to hurt. I've never seen this man get out of a race car. That tells you how bad it was.
That was a great performance, and watching Bill, as you and I were sitting here in the booth watching him try to climb out of the window of the race car, that was one of the toughest things to watch we've seen all year.
I agree. I mean, I'm just squirming watching, because that had to be just unthinkable pain that he went through, and hats off to you, Paul. You're an amazing competitor. I really do admire you.
We will certainly miss him behind the wheel if in fact he does not run the full season in the series next year, although we're told that Rocket Sports will continue to be a presence in Trans Am. Randy Ruhlman, meantime, off course in one of the 2 Tom Gloy Chevrolets. This is the Preformed Line Products 49 car. Randy from nearby Greensboro hoping to have a great day here today. He was on the podium a few weeks back at Miami.
I think Randy has had the best season I've ever seen from him, and perhaps being teamed with Butch Leitzinger just elevated his game to a new level, because he has driven so well this year, and I was really pleased. In fact, his wife was saying that they're looking forward to bigger and better things next year, so it sounds very encouraging for Randy.
They will return with the Preformed Line Products backing, but they will be moving to a new team because Tom Gloy Racing will end its days, at least for now, as an entrant in Trans Am. Tony Ave, meantime, in Kerry Alexander's machine, continues to run out front. This is the backstretch, heading toward turns, I guess this would be 14, 15, 16, and then 17. Let's put you on the front straightaway. If you recall our course map at the start of the broadcast today, Bill took a look at it for us. It's pretty much a triangle when you lay it on its edge that way. And there are 2 straightaways, or 2 straighter sections you might consider a backstretch. This is what everyone calls the backstretch here at VIR.
Now, is Leitzinger going slowly there? Because the Panos just absolutely smoked past him down there.
Butch in the 88 showing 5th. He has made a fuel stop, but it looks as though he's got a problem.
That's both Tom Gloy cars failing in probably the same lap.
Butch is still running, but not at speed. Meantime, Boris Said apparently has had a problem on course. We'll try to get a look at that for you in a couple of moments. This is Leitzinger, seemingly not up to full cry. Let's take a look at Boris spinning the ACS 33. Now, this is the Mustang after his quick fuel stop. He gets the car pointed in the right direction back on the racetrack, and we have a full course caution being shown. With that spin, Boris drops back to 5th behind Leitzinger, who stays on the track. You got a glimpse of the back end of the 88 car. He is 4th. So with 13 laps complete, Boris, who usually tries to stop during the first caution, has instead brought out the first yellow of the day. We'll see if there are any other of the leaders who decide now's the time they want to make their fuel stop. Remember, Ave, Tommy Dreesy, Mike Lewis, who has the other fuel-injected car in the series, they have not yet made a stop for fuel. The rest of the contenders have been on pit road. Johnny Miller in the other Rocket Sports car, the 64, up to 8th. This will gain him back some track position. So the safety car is out in front of leader Tony Ave. We'll take a timeout. Be right back at VIR. Coverage of the Trans Am Championship, the season finale, Halloween week, and it's been a scary weekend for some of our competitors. We had a couple of cars off. We wish you a most happy Sunday and hope you have a great Halloween celebration in your neighborhood this week, and a safe one, too. We're at Virginia International Raceway, Alton, Virginia, just over the state line from Milton, North Carolina. If you can't find them on the map, don't be surprised. We're not far away from Danville, Virginia, not too far away from Greensboro and Raleigh-Durham, right at the state line. Not too far from Martinsville Speedway, as a matter of fact. Field under caution, first time today. Boris Said, who led early, spinning off the racetrack, brought out the caution. Tommy Dreese on pit road, but Chris Neville, there's one team that's going to try to go all the way, we understand.
Yeah, I'm here with Nick Short, who's Tony Ave's crew chief. Nick, what's the strategy this afternoon?
We won't pit this afternoon. We have a fuel-injected motor. It'll go all the way. We get better fuel mileage than most. And we're going to stay out, win one for Quartermaster, Dave Letterman, Ry Lithic.
Well, that's one of the nice things with the fuel injection is you do get more adjustability when it comes to mileage. However, if you look at the times, Tony has not really put up the good times that you see from Butch and Boris. So he's got to definitely kick this thing in the ribs to keep up in front.
Well, Tony Ave may be one of the most capable, certainly one of the most capable wheelmen in the series. He is out in front of that 53 car, and they're going to try a fuel gambit to try to keep him up in front today. Closing in on halfway.
Yeah, and one of the difficult things for Tony right now is the fact that this pace car has closed the whole field up, so he really wasn't able to take advantage of that ability to not make a stop.
Well, Tony Ave leads Mike Lewis, Butch Leitzinger, Boris Said, and Justin Bell, your top five, as we prepare for a restart. We'll be back on Speed. Four years ago, the powers that be in Detroit were a major force in Trans Am. Carroll Shelby's Mustangs had Jerry Titus and Ronnie Bucknam. They challenged Roger Penske's Camaros, featuring Mark Donohue and Craig Fisher. AMC had cars in the field, including drivers Janet Guthrie and Leon Engelman. The race turned out to be another Ford versus Chevrolet showdown. Titus dominated early. He had a comfortable lead until pit stops began. As his crew serviced the car, Mark Donohue came in the Penske machine, and Fisher took over the seat. The Camaro crew was quicker on pit road. Fisher left with the lead. From that point on, Fisher and Donohue would dominate the race, never relinquishing the point. They ran fourth overall with the prototypes, with the Ford of Titus and Bucknam running fifth overall. Penske's Camaros, with Donohue leading the way, were quickly becoming legendary on the Tour. Mark Donohue would win 10 races that year in a career that netted 29 Trans Am checkered flags and 3 career titles in the Trans-American Sedan Championship. 1968 was a banner year when Trans Am ran at Sebring. Welcome back to Virginia International Raceway in Alton, Virginia here on Speed. Your all-time winners in Trans Am. Donohue still leads the list. Tommy Kendall retired. But the guy who's third on the charts is sitting here with us, Paul Gentilozzi. I can't believe they dragged you all the way over here after that painful climb out of the race car.
Well, getting out was a relief, and anything I could do for my favorite announcing team anywhere, I'll do.
Well, we appreciate it very much. What's the racetrack like?
It's actually a little slippery after the World Challenge race. There's a lot of clay in one that got dragged back on, and some fluids other places in the racetrack.
Pretty tough to pass here, pretty narrow?
Surprisingly, for a long racetrack, passing is difficult except in the thresholds at the end of the straightaways. After that, a guy can hold you up a long time.
Jack Willis in your race car. Will we see more of him in months to come?
Oh, I don't know, unless you know something I don't. But Jack is a wonderful guy, and I respect him a lot as a competitor. I couldn't think of a better guy to put in the Johnson Controls Jag to bring the car home. That's what we need.
And we understand he knows this place pretty well. He lives nearby here.
That was part of the decision, and the only thing against him was his brother Chris, as Boris said, crew chief.
Ah, a little favorite. Well, now for people at home saying, well, hey, if you're out of the race, why put the car back in? Tell us why you did put the car.
All right, in most motorsports, the driver who starts the race gets the checkered or the green flag, gets points if you put a relief driver in for an injury. So that's what we did. We were going to run until there was a yellow. Unfortunately, the pain got too great, and I had to come in.
So you're kind of playing on hopes at this point that if Butch Leitzinger is to break down, perhaps?
Yep. I only need 4 points to get back ahead of Butch for second place in the championship. So if something happened to him later, we could beat him.
It's a long shot, but still alive.
Yes.
Caution on the speedway, looking for a restart, but there's still a lot of speedy dry down. Apparently fluid laid down. Bill, you alluded to the possibility that it was fluid that caused Boris to spin, and I think we've just seen with all the speedy dry down there, that could well be the situation. Let's get Chris Neville into the conversation on pit road. Chris?
Well, a couple things with the leaders. Boris, we thought there might be some fuel on oil on the track because he spun, but it looks like he just caught Dreese in a weird spot. Thought he was going to hit him and decided to spin the car instead of hitting the guy. So kind of got to congratulate Boris for that. And for Butch, we've been kind of hearing that he might have some clutch problems. They're being kind of tight-lipped down here, so they're not giving me any verification if they really have some clutch problems, but we should see when we go back to green. Up to you guys.
Boy, Boris said he would rather spin than hit somebody. Who was that you really interviewed now, Chris? We want to know the truth.
Well, Butch Leitzinger is out there in the 88 car, and he'll restart in third spot right in front of Boris, but we noticed he did not seem to be up to speed on the last green flag lap before the caution came out. Paul Gentilozzi with us in the booth. We'll take a quick timeout and be right back for the restart. Back on Speed Channel, coverage of the Trans Am Series for the BF Goodrich Tires Cup, the season finale today from Virginia International Raceway. With Bill Adam, I'm Rick Benjamin, and wishing everyone a happy Halloween. Paul Gentilozzi joining us for a few moments in the booth as well today. First caution of the day, fluid on the track. Boris said spinning. We've regrouped everyone. We're ready to get going here. Just past halfway, we put 16 laps on the board of 31. 100 miles sprint race. These guys really can't wait any longer, can they, Bill?
No, I don't think so at this point. They really have to start running hard, and I expect to see people like Justin Bell, for example, currently sitting back in 5th place. This will hurt him a little bit, as I made reference to earlier. When they run a long time, Jim Derhaag likes his cars to be running hot. He makes the setup such that they run really, really good on long, sustained runs. After restarts, he'll be a little bit slow, so Justin maybe has to push a bit right now.
Look at the car that's back in 7th. That'd be one of those Rocket Sports Jaguars. Your boy Johnny Miller's done a great job today.
Well, you know, Johnny has a real performance expectation for this weekend. He's from a town not too far from here, and he was really fast. Fastest car on the 3rd lap of qualifying, and then made a little oops there.
Justin Bell with a lot of experience here at VIR, runs his GT driving experience from Virginia International Raceway. If there's a guy you'd say would be the favorite here, you'd think it would be Justin.
Well, Justin's got a lot more track time than anybody. Unfortunately, he's been out of the Trans Am car for a while. It's not like a bicycle. Tony Ave has a lot of grass on the grill, and that's going to make that car hot real soon.
He does it. There's 2 other drivers in the field as we're getting a green right now, is that Boris frequently tests his NASCAR stock car here. So he too has a lot of track time, and that really will come into play.
14 laps to go. Leitzinger in that 88 to the inside, trying to get back toward the front. Boris said right with him in the 33. Justin Bell in the 40 car next in line. Those cars are 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Ave and Mike Lewis, the 2 fuel-injected cars, who may be trying to go all the way without stopping. Jerry Simmons gets out of the way in the 76. The 3 quicker cars come right by.
Looks like Leitzinger's going to drive defensively. I'm sure he's trying hard to hold track position here. But once Boris gets by, he's been able to pull away every race.
Johnny Miller is 7th behind Paul Menard. You got a glimpse there of Stu Hainer, who was the pole sitter, had that faux pas on pit road the first couple of laps. He's gotten back to 8th, and he may be a factor because now he's been able to catch up under the caution.
That was remarkably lucky. Look at the amount of dirt these guys are throwing up in here. That's got to be terrible for Johnny. He's now driving over all this slippery garbage that's on the track.
Well, that oil line went all the way up the S's and down the other side. That's a dangerous place.
On board with Miller, this is where he went off the other day and caused a lot of damage to his Rocket Sports Jaguar. The crew worked hard, and they did a great job getting that car put back together for you, Paul.
Well, there wasn't a lot of structural damage. It did hurt the left front blower control arm, but that isn't Johnny's problem now. That Menard kid's his problem.
He is pretty good. That's a good, strong car. Looks like Boris may be taking a run up the outside.
Boris said trying to make a move and gain some ground on Leitzinger. He's to the inside.
No. Oh, Butch is fighting back. Nicely done.
Oh, a little chrome horn applied there by Boris.
Yeah, well, he guess he didn't want to spin that time.
Well, you know, Boris hasn't had a date in a long time.
Ouch.
Butch Leitzinger also, he too is a very experienced driver here. He has been here a lot recently in the Rob Dyson American Le Mans 675.
Lola, so yeah.
He set, in fact, an all-time lap record here with that little Lola. So a lot different from these big Trans Am cars, but at least he's got good track time. Here comes Boris again up the inside.
For a 3rd spot, Boris said able to make the pass. Leitzinger comes back at him. They lean on each other.
Now see if Butch can go back up the outside of Boris before he gets into this next corner.
No, he got by.
Boris said back to 3rd in the 33 after a spin, going for his 8th win of the season. He would become only the 3rd driver to win as many as 8 Trans Ams in 1 year if he gets to victory lane today. But he's got Lewis in that Jaguar in front of him, and then up in front Tony Ave, who's opened up more than a 2-second lead. You can see the Pano scooting up through the S's there.
I don't think Mike Lewis is going to be a problem for Boris. And if we look at Leitzinger's car, he's really loose on corner exits.
Yeah. He a few times has been bouncing that car over curbs, and I think it's been pretty uncharacteristic today for Butch that he normally is pretty neat in this car. And a few times today I've seen him flailing away at the wheel, really fighting that car all over the track.
Yeah, I think the car that we've seen in previous races that couldn't spin a tire is spinning it a little more this weekend.
88 car, the Tommy Bahama Chevrolet. Leitzinger with 3 wins under his belt, sitting second in points now. Lewis in the 12. That's the Ameriswedes car second. Boris in the purple ACS Ford running third. Then Leitzinger and Justin Bell. Abe continues to build the lead as they head up the backstretch.
Yeah, I think Justin is continuing to look very strong.
Yeah.
And he's taking a look at Leitzinger right now himself.
And don't forget about John pal Johnny Miller. He's moved up into 6th place.
Yeah.
And he wants this real bad.
He got by Paul Menard. That's not easy to do, as you said.
Absolutely. They got good horsepower on that team.
Boy, this is a bunch right here coming down through the S's. All downhill. Unfortunately, it's another case where the camera really doesn't show elevation changes nearly as much because I guess the momentum coming down here, and it's almost like an off-camber situation, isn't it, Paul?
4-way battle for second spot. We'll get that coming in a second. Quickly, Brian Till.
Well, Michael Lewis in the 12 car, he is running second. They have not stopped for fuel, and I don't want to play poker with these guys because I went down and talked to the Ameriswedes crew. I said, are you guys going to bring him in for fuel? They looked at me and they said, what do you think? We got the fuel can out. The fueler's got his helmet on, but I also know that these guys run a fuel-injected engine, and they can get good mileage. I think they're going to keep him out.
Well, with 12 to go, Lewis has just given up second. This gives Boris an opportunity to scoot away and try to chase down Abe.
Leitzinger had to go off track, actually, to get by Mike Lewis. And Mike has a strategy each race to try to get to the end. Unfortunately, when the leaders get there, he's a hard guy to get by, and it's caused some friction at the last few races.
Especially in Miami, if I recall correct.
That was my friction, yeah.
Watching Boris, Leitzinger, Lewis. On board Johnny Miller right behind the 40 of Justin Bell. This is for 5th spot. Miller willing to lay a tire off the pavement here to try to get some speed up the hill.
Cresting that hill right there, in practice, Johnny's about 108 miles an hour. Goes down about 40 feet into this big sweeper.
Justin Bell up behind Lewis. Lewis in the 12. Back a couple of spots now in 4th.
This track really has it's impressed me so much, and I'd never been here before a couple of days ago, Paul, and it's a gorgeous facility.
There is an amazing amount of change. It's kind of a combination of Road America and Mid-Ohio.
Yeah.
The problem is when you're off camber over a blind hill here, you're going 175 miles an hour.
Not a comfortable place to be in some cases.
It's an interesting metaphysical thing that does to your body.
Something here, just look at the amount of stuff that's been thrown up on Johnny's windshield area by following the cars down to the S's. When they're dropping wheels off, they're throwing up a lot of garbage to really not only clog the windshield, but the grill too.
Justin Bell trying to make a move on Mike Lewis down the front straightaway, 4th position. Lewis will hold him off, and we'll be back.
When you
At Virginia International Raceway, 10 laps to go on the season finale for the Trans Am Series for the BF Goodrich Tires Cup. Alongside Bill Adam, I'm Rick Benjamin, Brian Till, Chris Neville on pit road for us today. And Tony Abe continues to lead, but Boris said after spinning once, after stopping early, Bill Adam, he has cycled his way back to second. He's tracking down Tony. He's 2.5 seconds behind.
Yeah, sometimes those yellow flags can help you as well as hurt you. And this is a case where it really has helped Boris. There he is right there. You just see the distance on the track, and then the yellow car immediately behind him. Butch Leitzinger, the Tommy Bahama Corvette.
There is the gap. It's starting to be whittled down. Whatever problem we thought that Butch might be having seems to have gone away. He seems to be back at speed.
He slowed down so quickly there that I thought it's going to be something terminal, but it obviously is not, because he is also running. In fact, the top 3 cars right now are all running 1:49 laps. Justin in 4th is a full second a lap slower. So these 3 cars running very quickly right now.
That's Leitzinger at work behind the wheel of Tom Bloy's Chevrolet. 4th spot belongs to the 40 car, Jim Durhag's Chevy, with Justin Bell at the throttle. 5th to Johnny Miller. Remember, Miller started 18th today after flat spotting some tires earlier in the weekend. On board, the Cutler Hammer Eaton Unishippers Automation Direct Jaguar Miller, one of the 3 Rocket Sports cars in the field. Johnny Miller heading toward turn 1. You get a sense, I think, of that kink to the right, Bill, and then how quickly you've got to slow the car down for a very tight complex of corners here.
This isn't, I mean, a second ago you alluded to these guys hard at work, and they really are at work. It's a real physical pounding. I keep thinking back to the days of the first Trans Am, when the Trans Am race here was 400 miles long, and none of those guys had the benefit of power steering in their cars, although the tire width is probably even narrower than what we have on our rental cars out there, but still, that was a lot of work back then.
Miller working his way up through the gearbox, trying to track down Justin Bell in the 40. Meantime, we're told we heard from Paul Gentilozzi a few moments ago, joining us in the booth, the three-time series champ. He gave up the seat to Jack Willis in the Rocket Sports 3 car, the Johnson Controls Jaguar, but there's a problem with that machine. The hood is off. It's back on pit road.
It looks like they're working down there. That's hard to tell what that is. Down around maybe the control arms or possibly even the power steering unit.
Brian Till is there. Brian?
Well, it's the suspension. It's the lower A-arm. The bolts out of it broke in the front. Actually, if you look here in my hand, you'll see the bolt that goes in the lower A-arm and its front suspension mount where it mounts through the frame. Actually, this is only half the bolt. The other half broke. Obviously, some torsion in there caused this to break, and once the bolt broke and half of it fell out, it allowed that suspension component to work back and forth. Obviously, with the right front wheel flopping back and forth, that suspension being loose, Jack Willis cannot drive this car. They've got to make repairs, but it says a lot for this Jaguar team, this Rocket Sports team. They want to get him back out there. They know he's laps down. They know they haven't had the weekend that they wanted, but they want this car to be there at the end.
It is still important, and it's still theoretically possible for this car to finish ahead of Butch Leitzinger. If Butch should suffer some catastrophic failure where he couldn't finish the race, as Paul Gentilozzi pointed out, all they have to do is finish just to gain a couple of extra points, and that would put Paul up into second in the championship. So they feel strong enough about it that it's worth it.
Well, other cars have had difficult weekends here as well. Let's take a look at Mike Davis's experience today. Now, he's driving the Panos that Boris said has won 7 Trans Am races in this year. They've renumbered at 11 for the weekend. Take a look. He's up behind Jerry Simmons here at the 76. This is under the tree turn. A little contact with
Justin Bell
cars. I think that's the car of Simon Gregg, the 59.
And then
Davis.
Paul Fix just getting by. And this is Jerry Simmons in the Crank Mustang. And on the outside, here goes the Pano spinning. It looks like he actually spun there to avoid contact with Jerry.
Came up quickly on the outside. John Levy in the 18 car also in the mix. Meantime, 23 laps are complete, 8 to go. Tony Ave lays a wheel off. He's still got a good lead, 1.2 seconds though now. Boris is catching him.
Yeah, he is catching him, and you can see that Ave is really driving as hard as he can. He had that car just barely hanging on.
Third car in line, the 88, Butch Leitzinger. About 2 seconds the gap last time by. And we are pleased to welcome to the broadcast booth the editor emeritus, the publisher of National Speed Sport News, one of my heroes in the business, Chris Akademaki. Chris, glad to have you with us today.
Well, thank you very much, Trick. It's really an interesting day on the track. I'm watching this race with great interest because people tell me this is one of the few tracks that's not a car track, it's a driver's track. And ability is more important than performance here. And Seth is showing that. You know, it's interesting. Second, third, and fourth place drivers are all second-generation drivers. When you think about it, it's interesting. Their racing is in their blood.
And Bob Leitzinger, who's here this weekend, won several times here at this track in the not-so-old days.
This is fabulous. Now, the advertising on the lead car is phenomenal. David Letterman's ego is all over that car. He wants the city of Indianapolis to rename the Beltway in his honor. And if you look on the back of that car, that lead car, it says, "Say no to 465, I-465, which is the current name of that highway."
Tongue-in-cheek, I'm sure, but nonetheless makes it a little added entertainment. You don't think so?
No, I don't. I asked what they, there you can see it right there.
Yeah.
There they said that there's no payment for this sponsorship. I guess they want to get invited to a late night show in New York.
There you go. Boris said, meantime, up under the VIR bridge, starting to track down Tony Ave and the 53 car, the Trilithic Panos. Now, Chris, you were here. It's been said that you were around when Ben Hur was racing. I know that's not quite true, but you were here when they opened this place, weren't you?
I was the opening day track announcer here at the VAR many, many years ago. There's the winner, Carol Shelby. It was a wonderful day. The track was wonderful then, and it's wonderful now. It really is. It's been improved so much and beautified. You know something, Rick? This track is composed of 2 segments.
Yeah.
And for many drivers in today's race, it's the first time they've been on the full length of this track. Many of them raced here on one half or the other half, but never the whole 3.27. Look at this now. Seth is eyeing him up. Mr. Ave is more in the mirror than on the road right now.
Tony Ave, your leader in the red, white, and blue 53. Boris Said in that purple 33. Battle for possession, meantime, between Paul Menard and Mike Lewis. This is for the 7th place in the grid of the field right now with 7 laps to go. Paul Menard in the 99 closing in on the Amerisweets Jaguar.
Inches away right there. Now, something you didn't hear earlier, Chris, that I talked with Tony Ave actually before the start of the race, and He was a little bit sad in the fact they said they lost their good motor during practice qualifying. The engine they have in today, they said, without question, is down on horsepower. So we should probably see Boris get a good run down his grade because they've still got the horsepower.
If you notice at the intervals,
Boris has got 5 for the lead.
Yeah, you got a new leader.
Boris said is out in front, maybe on his way to what would be his 8th win of the year and the 100th victory by a Mustang this year.
And not only that, he goes home with a new Jaguar that he won earlier. It's remarkable. What a day for Seth.
We actually heard his crew chief is taking the Jaguar home. Boris apparently is giving the prize of that 2-year lease to his crew chief. So what a great gesture.
Good golly.
Isn't that wonderful?
Affected with severe altruism.
Boris said in the ACS Mustang, remember, he just jumped into this car for the weekend, put a wheel off into the dirt. One of the comments we've heard, Bill, you can address this, and Chris, you've been here for a long time, coming here for many years, pretty narrow here.
Well, that's true, but that's where your ability comes in. You know, Sed's father, Bob Sed, an old roommate of mine, was in the first U.S. Grand Prix ever held at Sebring. And, of course, he's famous for taking the shortcut. He cut off half the circuit on one lap, which improved his position.
I bet he was on the pole.
In those days, they didn't have the controls that prevail these days.
Radio communications weren't all over the racetrack the way they are now.
Yeah. Radio was for Amos and Andy.
Top 2 cars, the 33 of Sed, the 53 of Ave. Justin Bell, meantime, tracking down Butch Leitzinger as they get busy for 3rd spot. Butch holding on in the 88. Justin Bell in the 40 right behind him. 6 laps to go at PIR. We'll be back on Speed.
Hi.
Back on Speed, it's been an eventful day, especially for Stu Hainer, who was on the pole in the Tom Bell Revolution Motorsports Trenton Forging Chevrolet. Hainer deciding to stop very early for a splash of fuel, but he missed his pit stall, had to come around and commit again. The crew obviously knew that their chance at victory today was gone, and Hainer has raced his way back to 6th, Bill Adam, but he's 10 seconds behind, coming up 4 laps to go.
This is going to be something that these guys think about all winter long. It's one of the good things and bad things from the final race of the year. If you win, you bask in that glory until the next race of the following year, but if you lose, you're in pain every day until the season starts again. They're going to be hurting over this one.
Justin Bell, who finished 2nd in Miami several weeks ago, then had to miss the Road Atlanta round earlier in October. He's closed right in to Butch Leitzinger's back deck lid in the 88. This is for 3rd. Which ran a 149.6 last time. Very quick lap, although Boris Sed is running 149.2s, just pulling away.
This is really becoming a good battle right here. See Justin closing up. Justin is using not only every inch of track, but I think every inch of that curving. He is just ticking the dirt every single lap.
Watching that battle for 3rd, Brian Till is in the 40 car pits. Brian, what's going on there?
Well, Rick, I asked Jim Durhog, I said, are you going to be on the podium? And he just very confidently looked at me, smiled, and said, yes. I said, you seem confident about that. You sure you have something for Butch? He said, he's got clutch problems. I can hear it slipping as he goes by. We're going to get him.
You know, credit to Jim Durhog, too. I was chatting to him about his Miami race, and what a great job they all did together down there, particularly his pit stop. And he said, well, you know what? I was watching that big Diamond Vision screen across the pits, and he said I could hear that the crowd would yell anytime anything exciting happened. He took off one of his headphones and said, I'm going to call Justin in whenever I hear the crowd yell. He heard them yell, called Justin in, and then they went to the yellow. So Jim Durhog, one of the sharpest in the business, very heads-up moves.
Holds several series records. Of course, as a driver, he competed for many, many years in that number 40. As an entrant, he's been around for a long time as well, fields some very fast race cars. Leitzinger, though, continues to hold him off for 3rd. And Chris, to see Butch Leitzinger in action, you're watching one of the great professional road racers in this country today.
There's no question about it. He knows how to give it all. You get back to Durhog for a moment. He's part of 4 or 5 people who are here from the Twin Cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul, and they're all sad at the news there'll be no more auto racing at the Minnesota State Fair. That's handled auto racing for close to 100 years.
I read that in your column earlier today. I was very surprised at that.
Yeah, it was a piece of news. Well, we got a lot of stuff in National Speed Sport News every week. Rick, you should know that.
As a subscriber for more than 25 years, yes, you can safely say I know that.
You're my kind of guy.
And you don't even send me a free issue. I can't believe it.
I gotta eat, Rick. Gotta eat.
What about Justin Bell? His dad, Derek, one of the great road racers in history, 5-time winner at Le Mans. Justin trying to make a name for himself. How good is he?
Well, he's pretty good, but his problem, he's constrained by lack of funds. He hasn't been able to do a full season. That's the sad part of American racing today, the high cost of everything. Technology.
For
Here we
third
go.
spot. Here we come down the backstretch.
He's going to try on both sides. Leitzinger again is using his mirrors. Let's see how he can hold him off here.
One thing about Justin Bell, he will not rough you up, not intentionally.
No, he's not. Very classy driver.
I don't think Butch is the kind of guy that would take a poke at somebody else either.
No, not at all. There'll be 2 to go next time by.
Right.
31 laps the distance here at VIR. Front straightaway. There's the pit entrance. Leitzinger will make that car wide this time, I'm sure.
That's right. I don't know if there's any AJ Foyt type guys in this series.
Well, we saw Boris Sid use the chrome horn earlier. Here comes Justin Bell trying to set up Leitzinger on the outside.
Now, maybe if he can delay it, right? He should be able to get another shot on the inside. There he goes. That's the delay I just talked about. Sometimes the lead car will slide wide. He might even have got a tap there. I think Leitzinger got a little bit loose from maybe a tap.
He may get some help. His teammate Simon Gregg is directly in front of this battle.
Traffic comes into play here now.
Well, here's Simon. No, Simon's letting them both by. Good job, Simon. Let them battle it out. That's the way it should be.
Leitzinger in the Tommy Bahama 88 sits third. Justin Bell is fourth out front. Still Boris Sid by 2.5 seconds over Tony Ave.
And again, credit to Jim Durhag and his team. They do this racing on, as you pointed out, a very limited budget. They don't have the Tommy Bahama money behind them, so I think what they accomplish is pretty impressive.
If Leitzinger can hang on here, it will be a nice going-away present for Tom Gloy, who is getting out of racing as a car owner. There's for sale signs all over his equipment and so forth, and it's sort of sad. And he's not even here. Yeah. He's watching this show as we're talking about it. So the series will miss Tom Gloy.
Now, right there, Justin got a real good run onto the back straight. I think he's going to get one more shot down the end of the straight. Look at Butch. Butch is probably going to hug the inside, force Justin to go on an outside pass. That's what he's doing.
White flag will wave this time by side into the corner.
Oh, boy. I don't know.
Bell is there, but Butch is on the inside. No, he gives it up.
Boy.
Off the track. Butch Leitzinger forced to the grass.
You know what? I don't think they touched. I think that was just one of those things that because Butch was on an area of the track with very little traction, he just couldn't keep the car there.
Well, back when I was doing track announcing, that was called agricultural motoring.
Plowed up some of the turf here, no doubt about it. White flag waving over the ACS Ford. Boris said he's less than 3.3 miles from history here today. This would be the 100th Trans Am victory for Ford's Mustang in the 36 years of the series.
Yeah, and his 8th season victory. What a record. I'm so impressed that Boris come in, he's the crown champion. He is the fat cat at this point, and he still is hungry enough to take this and win it. That is just tremendous.
You know what he wants?
Johnny Miller is 5th.
You know what he wants for this win? An invitation to the IROC. Told me that earlier. Yeah. That's his goal for next year.
Well, of course, in past years, Tommy Kendall had represented Trans Am right behind the 64 of Johnny Miller. Meantime, you get a glimpse of Stu Hainer, who was the fast qualifier here this weekend and had that faux pas on pit road after just 2 laps. Came down pit road for an early stop, missed his pit stall, had to come in a second time. That's what cost him an opportunity to win here today.
And you know, if Boris goes to IROC, I'd put money on him. I think he could do a really fine job there.
Well, I'm sure of that. He's got the appetite for it. He's in for the race, not for the honors. There's the Oak Tree turn. I wonder how many acorns they popped today.
Probably plenty. Looking back from Miller's Jaguar from the Rocket Sports Stables, this is Boris Said all alone. 2.2 seconds ahead of Tony Ave, the ACS crew up on pit wall. Their driver headed for the last couple of corners here at Virginia International Raceway.
The season will be over for most of these guys, but for Tony Ave, he's got the Turkey Night Midget race in Irwindale, California on his calendar. He asked me if I was going to go out to cheer him on. He's a very broad driver from a talent perspective.
Checkered flag is in the air. Boris Said has done it. Wins his 8th Trans Am of the season. Becomes just the 3rd driver in series history to win 8 races. He wins the 100th Trans Am for Ford's Mustang. Johnny Miller, meantime, with Stu Hainer right behind him. Miller takes 5th. 6th goes to Hainer. The battle for 3rd to Justin Bell. You see Butch Leitzinger up ahead. He finishes 4th in the final run in the Tommy Bahama Tom Bloy Chevrolet. Chris Neville.
Yeah, I'm here with Chris Willis down in pit lane. Chris, pretty fantastic year. You've got to be pretty happy.
Yeah, I mean, all the guys at ACS, Neil Wheatley's done an excellent job on this car, crew chief and Ford. He makes me and Boris' job so easy. And Boris, what can you say about him? I mean, here he gives me a Jaguar earlier today, and then Ford's 100th Trans Am victory. What more can you say about him? The guy's awesome.
Now you guys are looking forward to probably doing some work with Ford next year.
We hope so. They've helped us out a little bit this year with some wind tunnel testing, and it paid off here because this is definitely an aerodynamic track, and we appreciate Brett and Bernie for all the help in the wind tunnel, and it's just awesome. Awesome for Ford, awesome for us. The whole day. I couldn't dream of a better day than the day right now.
Congratulations with the championship, and congratulations with the race. Back to you guys in the booth.
Well, the 33 team, Mike Davis's ACS squad, they win the race in that Ford after switching cars this weekend. Tony Ave takes the checkered flag second and runs out of fuel, Bill Adam.
That's about perfect. Colin Chapman, the Lotus builder, used to say you build a perfect race car that would destroy itself after it crosses the finish line, taking the checker for first.
Boris said, waving to the fans here at Virginia International Raceway, collecting his 8th checkered flag of the season. He's an old Mustang driver in Trans Am, scores the 100th Ford Mustang win in the series after jumping into that car this weekend.
You know, the management here, Jack Abbott, tells me that today is the biggest four-wheel crowd of the year at Virginia International Raceway, which is encouraging. Nice spectator turnout today.
Great testimony to what they've done in a short time since reopening the track, making it fit for spectators. Well, Chris Economaki, editor emeritus of National Speed Sport News, thanks so much for coming up to join us.
The pleasure's all mine. And continued good luck.
Thank you, Chris. We'll see you around the racetrack soon. We'll be back to talk to the winner in a moment. Welcome back to Virginia International Raceway. Trans Am season finale for 2002, the BF Goodrich Tires Cup. And fittingly, I would say, Boris Said comes home the winner for the 8th time this year, although it's a great story, a car he had not raced previous to this weekend. He wins the 100th Trans Am in Ford Mustang history. Brian Till is in victory lane.
Well, Boris said, what more can you do? That's 8 wins this season, and this one's got to be special to you. Going away, kind of a bragging present, and you did something for Ford, too.
It's big special for, everyone at Applied Computer Solutions, Joe Huppiker Engines, G Capital, G Access, all our friends at Nope here and Spy, Ironclad, Redline Oil. Yeah, that's number 100 for the Ford Mustang. That's a big milestone in Trans Am. They've been around forever, so if you haven't driven a Ford lately, go get one. This is awesome. Number 100.
Well, and obviously, it was not easy for you after pit stops falling back, and then you got to come back through the field, and I know Butch raced you hard.
Yeah, I was coming back through the field. We had a great stop. We beat Butch out, and unfortunately, though, I ran in the back of Mr. Reese. Tommy didn't mean it. There was a yellow up ahead, and he's slow, and I didn't see it. I was like a bull going for the red cape. I was just trying to get him, and I ran in the back of him and spun, but just ran hard, and Butch ran me hard, a little bit of contact, but that's what Trans Am's all about. It's just full contact sport. It's a great day for Panos. They won the Manufacturers Championship because we ran that car all year. Now we're in the Mustang, so that's great for Don and everyone at Panos Motorsports. But, BF Goodrich Tires, all these people have supported me forever. And, this track's one of the best tracks in the world. It's awesome. You got to come here.
Well, and you talk about history being made. You got Tom Yeager standing right here beside me, wins the very first Trans Am race ever for Ford Mustang back in 1966, and Boris Said, who wins the 100th for Ford Mustang here today. What a job.
Very impressive run. The driver who won the first race with Bob Johnson. There you see Tom Yeager. He was the Grand Marshal of the VIR Speedfest this weekend. Boris Said his 8th win of the year in front of a great crowd at Virginia International Raceway. Wrapping up the 2002 season. Ave comes home second despite running out of fuel. Bell, Leitzinger, and Miller. Then Hayner to 6th. Paul Menard, Mike Lewis. John Buckham with a good run tonight. And Max Lagarde rounds out the top 10. Show you the second 10. Don Sack finishes 11th with Paul Fix. Tommy Dreese ran up front for quite a while today, Bill.
He did, ran into a little bit of trouble, but just something I'm thinking back. Tony Ave, how critical was his second place finish because he gave Panos the championship?
Absolutely. Randy Ruhlman off track gets credit for 19th. Schaller and Fury, the last 2 cars in the running order. We'll take a quick timeout. Come back for more of the coverage at VIR. Today's Speed Channel coverage of the Trans Am Series season finale from Virginia International Raceway has been brought to you by AmeriSuites, the preferred hotel of the Trans Am Series. Tony Ave barely made it home in second spot. He's with Brian Till.
Well, Tony Ave trying to do the fuel mileage thing, but if you're going to go for mileage, you better have horsepower to stay out in front.
Yeah, we ran out because I didn't conserve. I wanted to beat him and ran that thing as hard as I could, and we lucked out, ran out at the very end, but great result for us.
Well, ran hard, and a great result for them. Second place, they'll take it any day. Chris Neville, you got third.
Yeah, Justin, it's been a tough year for you. This has got to feel pretty good to finish it this way. Tell us about that battle with Butch.
Oh, it was fun. We knew we had a good car after the practice yesterday, and, the Extreme Lens Allied Machine Engineering car was very strong at the end on old tires. And Bush and I had a great run, and I didn't have enough gear on the back straight, so I had to go around the outside, and we rubbed a little, but it was friendly enough. 1 lap to go. What are you going to do?
Yeah, he's got a couple palm trees on the side of this car. Back up to you guys in the booth.
I should say so after that battle for third. Butch had to go down through the turf. Was able to get the car back up on the racetrack and finish in 4th spot. Beautiful fall weekend of racing here at Virginia International Raceway. The season complete. Boris Said won the BFG Cup at Road Atlanta a few weeks ago. Bill, Butch Leitzinger comes home second.
Yeah, very strong performance by Butch, the rookie in name alone. Paul Gentilozzi once again finishing way up front. An excellent, well-earned 3rd place for him. Johnny Miller, his own teammate, in 4th. And hard luck, Stu Hainer. My heavens.
Well, you heard from Boris Said in Victory Lane that the Manufacturers Championship did in fact go to Panos. The Esperante winning 7 races. Tony Abe bringing one home second today. They win by 10 markers over Chevrolet. So very impressive result for Panos this season. Jaguar finishes 3rd in the manufacturer standings. It's been a storybook season for Boris Said. 8 victories, his first career Trans Am Championship. For Bill Adam, Brian Till, and Chris Neville, I'm Rick Benjamin. Thanks for watching. We congratulate the season champion and today's winner, Boris Said. We'll talk to you next time.